take some time as we're digesting our food a little bit and thinking a little bit more about the morning session to introduce you to our mayor, William Peduto. I've advised a lot of cities in the past around resilience and strategic development and whatnot. And despite the differences in geography, culture, population, socioeconomic development, etc., what really stands out for me in terms of a successful city and a not a successful city is the mayor, the leadership behind that city. It doesn't matter if you're a small city or you're in a different geography or whatever stage of development. The real defining moment is when the mayor actually is willing to take initiative, take political capital, and understand and drive the forces of change to make a difference. And this is what we see in Pittsburgh. You heard earlier this morning about how competitive the process was in order for us to become a resilient city with Rockefeller, and how so many hundreds of cities applied. And I think you'll hear this, you heard this from Rockefeller as well, is that what made us competitive and what made us really shine was that we had the full backing of a mayor. And not only the full backing of a mayor, but the backing of a mayor who actually understood these very tough issues around sustainability, and one actually that's been discussing this for decades. So this isn't a new concept. This is something that he's been talking about for a long time around how to improve our sustainability and how to improve our resilience. And so we just want to take a few moments to hear him talk about his vision for the city and how to build resilience. Mayor?
Thanks, Chief. First off, how great is it to have Deborah Lamb leading a government agency in the city of Pittsburgh? I mean, seriously, yeah. She inspires, she empowers, and she brings together the best and the greatest that this city has to offer and says, what can we do to do more together? And I'm going to be political for a minute because I usually am not political, but as I look around this room and I see so many different people at every table that I've had the opportunity to work with for nearly 20 years, I want to take a moment to step back and think about things about 2 years ago. And 2 years ago was quite a different world. Many people that were here were trying to get involved in politics, not really political in nature, but trying to figure out how can we win this campaign and put issues like this at the forefront, not at the little card table where they had been put or where they were glossed over. And you know, during that campaign, there really wasn't the support that we needed to win. I mean, both newspapers opposed us. The firefighters and the police and the building trades weren't there. The downtown corporate were with the other side. My own party, the Democratic Party, didn't support me. But we had a whole new group of people in Pittsburgh that are part of the future, that were looking about not what's in it for me, but what's in it for this city that has so much damn potential to get there. And even though being outspent 2-1, we won, right? And then in the fall, we had 84% of the vote and the highest percentage because the rest of the city of Pittsburgh understood something too. There is this great potential and promise to this city. And when you want to talk about the resilient city and you start to think about it globally, it's Pittsburgh. And I mean, it goes back to frontier days. You know, and they were trying to figure out how they were going to build on this strange little triangle of land and be able to sustain it, and using all the massive trees that were here in the old growth forests and building it, and then watching it all burn to the ground, and then having to build it again, and then watching it get flooded over and get flooded over again, and the natural disasters that were continuous in this area, only to see it be built then with iron and steel and the factories that led to the environmental destruction and the great disparity between the haves and the have-nots and the conditions that came with it. And it's kind of interesting because back then there was a foundation out of New York called the Russell Sage Foundation. That would have been Heather's great great-grandfather. No. You are cousins. Of course you are. It's Pittsburgh. 2 degrees of separation for everything. My joke gets ruined by the Pittsburgh syndrome. But they realized that you weren't going to be able to build a city the way that we were building cities. We were building them to the destruction of their own good. And so they created the Pittsburgh Survey back around 1908. And the Pittsburgh Survey was the first socioeconomic analysis of how we were building cities. And it really shed the light on what was the true occurrence of what was happening, not only in Pittsburgh, but everywhere else that was part of this early industrial age. And the nice thing about it is it led to the first progressive movement in Pittsburgh, where people like A. Leo Weil picked up the torch and said, I'm going to become part of the solution. And that led to the reforms in City Hall, decades after it already happened in New York and Boston, but it started to happen in Pittsburgh. And so now, about 100 years later and a little bit of change, we have another foundation from New York, this time the Rockefeller Foundation, and they're coming in and they're saying, hey, around the world, the 21st century is the century of cities. This whole idea about having a place where you work and then getting in a car and driving for 40 minutes to go to a different place to sleep, then driving and commuting, that's part of a model that was in the 1940s, 1950s, and has left. The idea of having these research and technology parks that were sort of out on their own, out in the hinterlands where you were able to drive the car and go to, is a model of the past. What people want is the density and the urbanism and the ability for it all to be right where you are. But how do you build it? And how do you build it not only so that it lasts, but so that it can face any challenge that comes to it, whether it's fires or floods, environmental degradation, or the economic heart being ripped out of the city. And guess what? We've lived through all of them, and we've lived through disparity, and we've lived through the different challenges that cities face, but we never planned for the cases that were about to happen. Now we have the opportunity to do so. So for the next 9 months, you're going to be tasked. What are those challenges? What are we going to face in the next 10 years, the next 20 years, the next 50 years? What are the challenges to making sure that when people start moving back into Pittsburgh like they move back into San Francisco, in Boston, and Seattle, there's a place that they can live, that they can afford, and that they don't have to find themselves pushed out as a process of it? How do we plan for something as large as a combined sewer overflow that also realizes that 100 years from now we shouldn't be handing somebody the bill and saying you got to build another one of these, but instead build the structure so that the water that comes down is part of an ecosystem that is there forever? How do we make it so that the new economy is an economy for all, and that the people that have been left to the fringes in the past have the tools in order to be a part of it? And how do we make it so that those man-made and natural disasters are being dealt with, not just with public safety, but with the Department of Planning, so that we're building it to survive? That's what this is about. It's about understanding that this city is here for the long term, and the decisions that we make today will be the decisions that those will live with 50 years from now. And we've been given the tools that only 66 other cities in the world have been given through the Rockefeller Foundation to pull together the best ideas and the greatest understanding from the people gathered in this room today, to team up with the soon-to-be 100 other cities around the world, and to tap into the technical experience and expertise of leaders from around the world, so that the 100 cities that are resilient become the 10,000 cities that are resilient, and we do our part in changing this world. Pittsburgh is the resilient city. We've lived through it, and it's part of our very DNA. And now we have the opportunity not only to share what our past has been, but help to define what the future will be, and how other cities can follow our lead.
final time here. Thank you all for coming. I know that it's a lot to take the day out of your schedules here to stay here for the discussions, and we've gotten some really great contributions and responses, and like we said, this is the first of many further exercises and events and stakeholder engagement pieces that we'll use to build our resilience plan and strategy. So you're the kickoff, but not the last. I just want to introduce you to the key person behind all of this. So when you heard this morning, one of the main components, one of the 4 components that Rockefeller was supporting us in was the resilient unicorn. And this is the term I've really embraced and really like, because this unicorn, as you've heard, has to be very unique and special to guide us all in the resilient plan. And we thought long and hard about who this unicorn could be in the city of Pittsburgh. And especially given my background around resilience, I was actually very picky about it. And selective, because the standards that I had around this resilient unicorn was very high. But one person came up on top. Most of you, all of you, know him. It was announced earlier at the press conference by Mayor William Peduto. It is our own sustainability manager, Grant Ervin. So Grant is a very special unicorn, as you know. He's been, with over 15 years of experience, a graduate of Washington and Jefferson and Gispia. He's been in this community, front and center, integrating, thinking about different collaboration, moving forward around everything from fleet management to green infrastructure to green buildings, and now on to resilience. So without further ado, I'll let our unicorn speak some closing comments.
I've never been called a unicorn until today. Thank you, Chief Lamb. Thank you for your remarks. I appreciate it, and thank you for your leadership and guidance on this issue. Without Deborah, we wouldn't be where we are today. One of the things that she has done for the city of Pittsburgh, not just through her energy and her diligence and persistence, she's really brought the world to Pittsburgh in so many ways, through her experience, through her knowledge, and through her role as a leader and a manager within the city. If you don't know her, get to know her. She's really a special person. So thank you for anointing me as the unicorn. It means a lot. In all seriousness, when Bryna brought the name up, and when we thought through the process and the journey that we're embarking on, it is a daunting challenge, no doubt. As I've gone through the different tables throughout the day, I asked myself the question, what am I getting myself into? In terms of the challenges, the shocks, the stresses, one person said to me, I don't want to leave here depressed. When we stop and think about the impediments that we can potentially face. But the challenge is, how do we turn those impediments into opportunities? And that's really how we have to create the framework, right? That the issues, whether it's combined sewer overflows or energy sources or energy consumption, how do we start to integrate? How do we start to create co-benefits? How do we create synergies? And that's really what's about next. The idea is, how do we take what we're learning through our dialogues in each of these tables and start to create these cross currents? The idea that we could take a neighborhood, for example, like Uptown, which for 30 years has been, basically an isolated entity, a community that is a place that we go through, typically not a place that we go to. And now you have a dialogue, you have action, where institutions, where neighbors, where businesses are starting to come together to rethink what it means to be a neighborhood. You know, the city of Pittsburgh is a city of 90 different, very distinct neighborhoods, if you speak to anyone from any one of those neighborhoods, right? But the idea that we can learn from each other, that we could share those experiences, that we can integrate the opportunities, that we can integrate the solutions is really where we're at. We're really at the forefront of thinking about the what's next in terms of Pittsburgh. So a couple of quick reflections with regards to the work that we've done today. So first of all, I just want to say thank you to all of you. Justin Miller just reminded me that since you are here, you are resilient. You started the day, you went through the effort, and you're here at the very end to see the fruits of your labor. And that's special. That's a testament to you all, that you have a certain amount of stick-to-itiveness to bring your energy and your time, and we greatly appreciate that. In terms of the stakeholder mapping, you know, the one thing, two quick things that I think that are really important, that I think are really special. One is the business cards. So before you leave today, just take a walk on the back wall and look at the business cards that have been posted. And why I think that is special is, one is that people are putting their name to a certain issue, right? Anytime that you affix your name to something, whether you sign your name, you know, whether you hand some of your business card, you're making a statement. You're putting your name on that activity, and that says a lot. The other thing that I think is really interesting is if you look at the opportunities that we have with the what is resilience. There's a lot of commonalities that you'll see there. There's a lot of common threads. And then the other issue that's probably the most amazing is if you look at the far wall on the right there, on my right, you will see a host of activities that are already underway. And that's a testament to what it means to be a Pittsburgher. We have this energy, we have this enthusiasm, and there's so much great that's currently happening here in this city right now. Our quest is, how do we bring it together to make it even greater? So the next steps, well, the next steps are really to sit down and to digest this information. Our city team will be working with the 100RC team, as well as our friends from the RAND Corporation, to start to synthesize this information, to start to see how things fit together. And then we'll be producing a report in the next several weeks that we'll be able to distribute to everyone here in the room, and that we'll be able to share, that is a briefing document of the material that we've created today. But then following that, we'll start a series of pretty serious engagements, some smaller, more focused conversations within the business sector, within universities, within NGOs, with the philanthropic community, to help educate and begin this dialogue about building resilience. And then it'll be a refinement process, the idea of seeing where these co-benefits exist, where the opportunities where we can make strategic projects that have overlapping benefits, how we start to bring that together. So the final thing I'll say in terms of the next step, at the City of Pittsburgh, we'll also be creating a landing page. So you can go to the Innovation and Performance Department's website, which is part of the city's website. We'll have all that information for you in the next week or so with regards to a landing page that will give you video content and different briefing materials that you could share with your friends, neighbors, and colleagues. So this is, as we've said multiple times today, just the beginning of a conversation. Finally, I just want to say thank you. I want to let special thank yous to our organizing team from RAND. Where's Linnea and Tamara? You guys, where are you at? Stand up, wave, give everybody one of these. So you've seen Jordan a lot today, and you've had a chance to see Linnea and Tamara, but absolute superstars. So the ability to pull an event like this together, I may be a unicorn, but I can't do this. You know, the ability to kind of create the network, the detailed information, excellent job, and we thank you so much, and we're very grateful for you. Also, Jordan mentioned the note takers and also the facilitators. You guys, I told the 100RC team that you're rock stars. The team of facilitators that we pulled together here today, bar none, some of the best in the business. So thank you very much for the work that you've done. And then two more. I'd like to also thank our 100RC team, Michael, Katya, thank you so much for helping us begin our journey. We look forward and we'll enjoy the ride with you guys without a doubt. So thank you so much. And then one final thank you. Without you guys, this is not possible. Without the work that you do each and every day, Pittsburgh cannot have its own hashtag that says Resilient PGH. You make Pittsburgh the resilient city it is. So thank you so much. We will all be in touch. We'll see each other each and every day because this is Pittsburgh after all. So go forth, be merry, and we shall see you all soon. So thank you very much.